Hello, everybody. Welcome to the new moon in Pisces. Before I head into all the astrology info, I wanted to let you know that I've got a lot of new things going on, and you might want to join some of them. Some of them you have to be local because they're in person again, and it's great that everyone wants to come out in person. So if you're in the Montreal area, I have what I call my intuition cafes going on, and they're sort of social. It's social, but like I facilitate discussions so that you can talk about your intuition or what it's like to be living as an empath. Um, Anything that you normally feel you can't say in other social situations, you can say here with us. So the first bit of it is just having your coffee and talking, and I facilitate a good discussion. Then we do an intuition building exercise, and we share after that. And that's it. We're going to do them in different places each time. So if you're in the Montreal area, the first one is March 13th. It's an afternoon, and it's going to be in Beaconsfield area. It's called Cafe Coco and Bean. It's a lovely place, lovely owner as well. And the second one is going to be back at Chapters Indigo in Kirkland, or Point Claire, near Fairview Mall. So, and that'll be the 22nd of the month. There's also, if you want to join us virtually, I'm going to do the same thing. You'll be making your cup of tea or your coffee at home, but we'll be doing the same thing virtually. And that one is March 9th. So that's coming up for the new moon in Pisces, which is very psychic. So you might want to come out for that. If you do, then please message me at the end of this video, or I will put my email. And you might want to sign up for my newsletters. You might want to follow my page on Facebook so that you have access more to this. And you might want to join my Intuition Cafe group on Facebook as well, which is free. So without further ado, let's take a look at this Pisces new moon, because there's no more psychic time than a Pisces moon. So when you put the new moon in Pisces, we're talking the sun and the moon, plus we've got Saturn and Neptune all in Pisces. You're talking like a super cluster of psychic energy. So it's a very good time to tap into your own intuition. So let's take a look now at the chart. All right. For some reason, it doesn't want to show my face on the screen like usual. Maybe it'll pop up in a minute. Just want to make sure this is recording too, isn't it? 1 second. Sorry, people. Yes, it is recording. Okay, I suddenly lost some of the little indications on the screen. I wanted to be sure before I start talking. All right, let's go back to share the chart. Ah, now it's working. Okay, good. All right. So if you're in the Eastern time zone, so the New York area, Toronto, then this is the chart. So it's interesting to me because you've got Pluto on the rising, like exactly on the rising sign of this new moon. So that's pretty powerful. So despite the fact that there's all of these clusters of planets in Pisces that are very gentle, Pluto is rising. That already tells me I'm expecting a lot of people will have strong visions, strong gut feelings, strong, I don't know, but I just know, flash visuals, hearing things, clairaudience, sudden, I don't know why, but I just have to do this thing differently, or you know what, I'm going to go for that. I really want that. Or this relationship isn't working. What am I doing here? Whatever it is that you have been maybe mulling over, not sure, suddenly you can get a strong, intuitive, clear moment. And Pluto rising means you're probably going to act on it. Pluto rising also means a lot of challenge to your outward presentation, right? Your ascendant, the ascendant, your rising sign is talking about how you come across in the world. It's talking about your physical body. Pluto on the rising sign could mean a challenge physically right now. Maybe you're feeling more, something's going on with your physical appearance. For some of you, depending on, what age you are and what your values are, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's like you got a bad haircut. Oh no. Now everybody's talking about it. Or on the good side, you colored your hair and everyone's going, wow, you look so good, so different. Some of you, it might be, unfortunately, you have some sort of injury, or you don't feel well, and Pluto on the rising sign, well, it shows. People are going to know that you're having a struggle. Others, maybe Pluto rising, you have just lost some weight, and people are like, you're looking amazing, because Pluto rising means a transformation. So that's a really strong element to bring out, even though that's not what I usually start with the sun and moon. But Pluto is an Aquarius, and it's right on the rising sign if you're in this time zone. It's a great time for personal transformations. Try to allow them and not resist them, because if you resist them, Pluto tends to knock you sideways and make you do things sometimes. So good time for makeovers, whether that's your personal appearance, whether that's where you live, if you're just suddenly repainting everything, or you want to give your garden a makeover for spring, or, even just a big cleanup job, stuff like that. So it's a really good time for transformation. And again, even the weather this year is just extraordinary compared to other winters. This is unheard of for us here in Montreal. So I know south of us, it's good too, but it's warm, it's spring, and it's March. That never happens here, never. So already you know, that's a transformation that we can all see as well. Winter's disappeared early. Wow. So let's take a look now at that new moon. That's sun and the new moon in Pisces. So we're going down here to the second house. Look how big these houses are. So AC is ascendant. There's Pluto, or your rising sign. DC is descendant, your relationship house. Nothing in there for this chart. It's empty. However, it's ruled by 28 Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. And that's how you see what's going on with relationships. Well, there's no planets in that house. We look at the rulership of that house, and where does it fall on the chart? And lo and behold, it's in Pisces, the new moon. What's that mean? You might have some new relationships. Might have a chance for new friendships, new connections, new romance, new business partners. So, again, look how large the houses are. This first house is huge in this chart. So is the seventh. That already even just tells us a lot of the focus of this new moon is going to be on relationships, yourself versus others. Wanting to just be on your own, be independent, isolate, stay single, whatever it is you're gonna, me, myself, and I taking care of number one, needing some space versus partnering up. A lot of focus on relationships and where things stand, how you feel, who's in your corner, because the houses are huge, it emphasizes it. And then the second house is also quite large, the second and then the eighth. And this is where we see the cluster of most of the planets. So the sun, moon, and Pisces. So the moon in Pisces, I always, when I've met people with moon in Pisces as their natal chart, they are always very psychic. It's just natural. They don't really have to try. They just find it very easy to see what things are and accept things as they are. It's very sensitive as a moon. It's picking up everything. So you might as well. Very subtle stuff. People may not acknowledge what you're sensing. They might not, and it's not because they're like, no, you're wrong, trying to oppose you. They might probably just genuinely not aware of it themselves yet. For example, for the last 2 or 3 days, I was thinking about a friend of mine, and I was picking up a lot of anger, and I wasn't sure like whether I was angry at him, whether he was angry at me, because I was thinking, well, maybe it's personal. But I kept feeling anger around my friend. And then just last night, um, he announced that something had happened to him, and there was like a friction between him and somebody else, and he left a position. Voila, there we are. I was picking up him. I was picking up something was happening with him, and I was picking up that it was about anger. But when I mentioned it to him, I said, "Oh, I've been thinking of you the last few days, and I was feeling some friction around you." He's like, "Well, no, I mean, it worked out fine." That's a typical answer of most people. A, some people aren't aware. Yeah, I was feeling a lot of friction, even though, yeah, I can handle it. Logically, I understand what's going on. Didn't distress me that bad, but yeah, like admit that there was some tension. A lot of people won't admit it. That's number one. Number two, um, it could touch a nerve to admit that there was vulnerability there. So you have to give people a lot of grace. But you also have to acknowledge to yourself, okay, but my intuition was right. So with Pisces new moon and sun, you're going to also have your psychic moments over this new moon. And again, some of the subtle stuff you pick up about yourself, about what you need to do, about what's going on with your friends, what's going on, random stuff. Could be somebody that you pass by on the sidewalk and you feel something. Could be the friend of a friend, could be a cousin, could be somebody you don't see that often, and you're like, it's subtle, intuitive impressions that just come to you. Could be a dream. So stay very open right now. Don't judge what you're picking up. Say, okay, I don't know what it means, but I'm just going to trust that it means something, and I'll write it down, and I'll just keep my eye out for what it applies to. And if you do tell people your dream or your vision, don't expect them to go, oh my God, you're right. Some people will. Some people will be like, that's scary. How did you pick that up? Other people will be like, that's weird. Why are you thinking of me? Why is this happening? What's going on? Then they think you're strange. Other people will like latch onto you. Could you tell me more about me? So when you open up your intuition and you make it public to other people, whether that's whoever it is, you always have to be ready for all kinds of range of reaction to it. So for yourself, though, just know you're probably right about something. Write it down. Write it all down. All right. The other thing about the sun and moon in Pisces is extremely creative. So if you can get your hands on anything that you love to do that's related to your creativity, and creativity doesn't have to mean you're painting oil paintings. Creativity just means you're thinking outside the box, you're designing something, you're curious, you're playful about something, all with the idea of making something beautiful, expressing yourself, problems, finding solutions for problems. So, highly creative. And if you are, maybe it's a great time to go play your music, learn a new instrument, draw something. That whole self reinvention thing I mentioned, Great time to be maybe shopping for something new for spring, getting that new haircut or what have you. Um, so I feel like I'm not expressing this exactly as I'm doing my best here, but I feel like I'm sort of missing something because Pisces also has something that's very cosmic and sort of mysterious, but not in a Scorpio mysterious, like you'll never know me. No, it's more cosmic. Some of what you feel or what you feel compelled to do or create might feel like you're in a different world, a dreamland, fantasy, something that feels beyond normal materialism, normal, like, for example, out of nowhere, why do you suddenly feel like drawing a unicorn? I don't know. Like maybe you have a dream where you're visited by a spirit guide. I've never had that before. Maybe you get such a strong, palpable feeling of tears or of pain, and you know it's not yours, you know it's the world's pain. Sun, Moon, and Pisces, especially with Neptune there as well, and Saturn, extremely compassionate. So if we talk about how Neptune emphasizes this, because as you can see, Mr. Neptune, or Ms. Neptune, is right here down beside it, 20 degrees, 20 degrees, 27. It's closer than Saturn. Saturn is 11. So Neptune is influencing it slightly more than Saturn. Well, Neptune is also ruled by Pisces. It's the ruler of Pisces. The magic, the mystery, the fog. So Neptune is very comfortable in this terrain. The imagination is strong. The spiritual side is strong. The desire to escape this earthly world is strong. That's the shadow side of this new moon. Saturn, Sun, Moon, Neptune, and Pisces could be somebody that wants to leave this world and escape it. They can escape it by drinking like crazy, taking drugs. They can escape it with anything that's addictive. They can escape with work, being a workaholic. They can escape by, you know, staying inside, cooping themselves up, not talking to anybody, being on the phone 24/7. But it's escapist. That's the shadow. You might see some of that in yourself. You might need to do that for a little bit. This is a temporary transit, it's a few days. So it's not going to hurt you if you need a few days to just escape from the world, to think, if that's where you're at. Not be around people, not have responsibilities or pressures for a few days. You might need that. But if you're feeling some of the darker side of the escapist thing, like you don't want to be here anymore in the other sense, then you need to reach out for help. You need to reach out to somebody for help. Hopefully, not many of you will be in that dark a space. But if you are, just remember, a lot of that pain and darkness that you might feel, or like you don't want to be in this world given what's going on in it, just remember, a lot of that isn't you personally. A lot of that is something that you're feeling that is collective or global or cosmic, because Pisces always talks about something greater and bigger, and the collective, all of us, not just one person. So you can use this to escape that, or you can use this time to tap into that collective and feel more like you're part of everything and everyone. that you're not disconnected from the world. No matter how much you try to be alone, it's hard to do that. You will always have something. There might be the most remote cabin and you still have flies. You know, you still feel the wind in the trees that are alive. When you're cooped up inside your apartments, that might be one of the loneliest, like we were in COVID. But still, you look out the window and something's happening. There's still birds flying by and squirrels. There's still cars driving by. You're never alone. And it's important to remember Neptune and Saturn with the sun, moon, and Pisces definitely just increases a lot of what I'm saying. I would look at this and, even Mercury, well, Mercury's in Aries, but it's close to Neptune. Mercury in Aries can be very direct and blunt, like too much, but it's right next to Neptune, so could be a lot of idealizing going on, idealizing language, putting things in the best terms, seeing people in a glamorous kind of light with Mercury and Neptune. Could be somebody that speaks, you feel is just speaking the truth and you believe it. Somebody's just amazing, the words coming out of their mouth. Let's see. It's hard to put words on what is a mystic because when you identify in some way with being a mystic, there's a certain side of you that's connected. You're walking on the earth and you're connected to people, but you're also in another world as well. You know that there's multiple realities, there's parallel universes. You know that there's things that that you can't put words on. There's things that you see that you can't say. There's a disconnect in one way from people, and yet there's a connection to seeing the bigger picture with people. And you walk in between, or you walk in both worlds as a mystic. And so, as I said, these planets are bringing out that side in us all. You might encounter one, you might feel it in yourself, you might have heightened intuition or dreams, you might have a desire to just escape. You might also have great moments of compassion for yourself and others over the next few days, which would be one of the loveliest ways this could play out. Loving yourself, accepting and forgiving yourself and others. Those are the highest waves of Pisces. So if you're feeling low in any way, it would be good to remember to trust your gut, and it would be good to pray or to send out positive or to even just send out affirmations of forgiveness to yourself or to somebody that hurt you. You will be shifting a lot of energy if you do that this week with this new moon. So as you can see, most of the activities taking place down here on this one side. Remember we said the top and the bottom of the chart. The top is planets and energies we're more conscious of. The below, we are less conscious of them. They're more subconscious or harder to get in touch with. And that's the case for all of these planets, the whole chart. So add an element of the fact that these things feel sort of subverted, buried, less hard to put words on. It's a very interior type of new moon. And with that being said, as I mentioned, you don't need to run around telling everybody every dream, every vision, every psychic impression you get. You can just let yourself be with it for a little while, for a few days, and then decide if you want to speak it after. Mercury in Aries down there might mean you do just blurt something out. But there's really no challenge to that Mercury. All it has is positive aspect here. So you're not in danger if you say something that you need to say, if you feel it. It's so close to Neptune, it'll come out in a less blunt way than usual. So that's lovely. Where we do see a challenge is here. So there's nothing really challenging our sun and moon and our intuition. The challenge is here. So what's that? We got Mars and Venus in Aquarius. So we've got, Mars and Venus, our desires and our action. It's in the first house, so nothing to hide. Both of those are going to be eccentric. They're going to be smart. They're going to be rebellious. They're going to do things their own way. So we might see some people that, you might consider them to be rebellious or showy or just sort of odd. But they seem pretty harmless. But we do have Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus that are not going to like that. So you're going to have, again, like it's hard to say how this plays out. If it's directly around you or if you feel like there's a bit of a distance, you can sort of just keep yourself out of it and watch the show. But you're going to see some friction playing out between people that want things to be status quo and not change and be very down to earth and practical, and others that are like, screw that, we need to change the system, that doesn't work anymore, we're just going to dismantle what you think is a perfectly good old way of doing things that shouldn't change. We're just going to dismantle it because it's time for the new. So there is that element playing out in a bigger picture way, of tradition versus progress. And that's always a tension in society, but I do think it's getting stronger because we have so many aging, the boomers and older that are sort of our anchor to certain traditions and old ways. Some that, we don't want to lose, and it'll be sad if we lose them. And then we've got the Aquarian Mars Venus that sort of represents what's going on now, where it's all watered down and technological and less connected to the earth, but it's quote unquote progress. Things move forward, whether we like it or not. So you do see this tension, I think, getting stronger. Innovation, we might see something announced that's quite different or innovative. And again, resistance to it. But again, that's the history of the world. I don't feel these conflicts in the air are terribly strong. So I think when we head into our eclipse season, we're talking more about the full moon on the 24th of March up to April 8th with the total solar eclipse. I think that's when you're going to see much more things start to rock and roll. And I'm not quite sure what. But this year still has a bit of and this moon still has a bit of a sleepy feeling to it, like, we're in a dream a little bit. It's calm for now, okay. And then something always wakes us up to get out of bed. And I think that's going to come more towards our eclipse season. Yeah, I've been trying to sense this out for a while. And I always felt that something was going to shift pretty quickly for us in March, April of 2024. It's just hard to say what exactly and the exact when, but it's soon. So for now, take advantage of this beautiful Pisces time. Let yourself sleep, let yourself meditate, go for long walks, write down your intuitions about everything that's going on in your life, or everything around you. Write down what you sense and see and feel and dream, because it's probably going to guide you once the wake ups begin. All right, let's take a look at our tarot for this new moon. And I'm using a different deck now. It's called the Light Seers deck tarot. Let's give them a good mix. I will light some sage too. All right. Hope you can see it. Oh yeah, we can. There we go. All right. So our first card, stop the sharing of the chart now. Our first card is the Knight of Wands. So he looks like a party, doesn't he? He's drumming, his drum's even on fire. It has a flame. His hair's all over. There's a wild horse dancing in the back. This guy is usually a lot of fun. He's expressive. He's probably a bit like rebellious in one way, romantic. Like he could be loyal, but he also wants his freedom. He's a mix. Usually we find this guy super attractive. That archetype. It's like a uh like, well, I don't want to start using celebrities. I'm going to date myself. But anyway, or even rock stars, I would date myself. But to me, he looks a bit like Bon Jovi or something there. He's got that same kind of, unconventional, but the fire, he's got a fiery personality, but the fire is steady. It's not destructive. He's got his wands around him. Can you see? He's got 4 wands around him that are on fire, and he's playing. And then this horse is dancing to it. So that's sort of nice. There could be a lot of fun. There could be some partying with Pisces. All this Pisces. Could be a good weekend to go out. All right. Next, we've got the Page of Wands. So we continue. So, she just looks like she's at a festival, throwing her wand, dancing, creating circles, manifesting stuff. She's young and free. She may not have a lot. She may not have a lot of experience, but she has some sort of core of self-esteem and self-trust. And we've got our 2 of Pentacles. So that yin yang factor, the change. But again, this deck is represented, the imagery is like a festival. So interesting, I picked it for this particular moon. So, she looks like she's got a purse, or is she, swinging different, I'm not even sure what you'd call those, but it's almost like she's going to be spinning them around like a fire thrower almost. So it's hard to see the traditional meaning of the 2 of Pentacles on this card, which is usually yin and yang, and it's all about change. Things are always changing. She's got something on her mind. She's pensive, or she's meditative. She's deeply inside herself thinking. And she's got something behind her, something in front of her, something up, something down, something red, something pink. So she just looks pensive. And we've got the Wheel of Fortune. So she's doing her tree pose on top of the wheels. And there's some sort of forces that she's connected to. You see on one side it's light and the other sort of dark. Very interesting. And she's pivoted towards the one that's dark. I get a feeling of somebody trying to, who's overcoming their shadow side here. There's even the moon at the top of the corner on that dark side. She's working very hard to clear something and to release her shadow side. So that might be a theme for you as well. And it might be through expressing yourself, dancing, going out, playing music, being around people who are more spontaneous and free, that it helps you with that shadow. Then we've got our Knight of Pentacles. So even though he looks like he's fairly wealthy with all of his coins or pentacles or shields or whatever they are, they look like symbols of wealth. And he's got this beautiful horse that's just following him like a pet. And he's walking off very confidently, but he's barefoot. So that suggests somebody that's either spoiled or somebody who has wealth but is saying, I don't care about that. I want something else. I'm not worrying about having these perfect shiny shoes and a suit. He could be somebody who's integrating more the earth and his sensitive side, his freedom with finance, with security. Or he could be sort of spoiled and squandering what he's been given. So you have to go with your own intuition. Which one do you feel he is, if it reminds you of anyone? Next, we've got the moon. It's a beautiful one. Look at that. So we have our traditional wolves, like gatekeepers, on the other side of the moon. The moon is full in this card. And of course, it's affecting the tides. It's lighting up the water. But underneath the water, we have this goddess who seems to be sending light to the moon from below. It's a beautiful image. The moon always has some sort of mysteries to it. It's always about going deeper into your feelings. Not just accepting what's at the surface, which if we looked at the surface of the card, all we would see is these two warning, wolves howling at the moon, warning us maybe, or they can't get to each other. And if you look beneath the surface, there's just so much more going on that's larger than what we even thought. So take a look at the deeper, bigger picture of anything. Even the king of the Knight of Pentacles we mentioned, we can label him like we just did, or we can look at the deeper picture. What's under the surface of why he's acting like that? Does he have an oppressive family? Was he given all this wealth, but he hates his job? Why is he acting like that? And that's where our intuitive faculties help a lot with these planets, to help us out, to figure out to take a look. What is that deeper understanding that I could be missing in the situation where you're stuck or feeling upset or whatever? It's always a deeper picture of the truth of why. Then we've got the Eight of Cups, which is somebody walking away. She's walking away wearing white, walking in the light. She's walking away from something dark or left behind or unresolved, or she's saying, it's okay, I don't need it. So we've got two figures here. We've got two that are partying. We've got one that is pensive, one that is trying to overcome the darkness. And we've got a couple of figures that are walking away. It's interesting themes coming up here. Now we've got the Judgment card. which again, she looks like she's ready to be released. One side of her is released, joyfully stretched out towards the heavens. But she looks like she could either be praying or begging for that release, or she may know that her spirit has that sense of freedom, even if her body or physical manifestation doesn't. You don't really sense judgment here of somebody judging somebody like this is you did the right life or the right thing and someone else didn't, or her soul is being judged. If anything, to me looks like more she's releasing judgment of herself and letting herself fly and be free. So another strong image of letting go and releasing, walking away. Oh, and that's lovely. Then we have the world coming full circle here. So just like the figure of the Wheel of Fortune, who's trying to clear some dark and light, now this one has achieved it. This one is in the light. This one has dealt with the shadows. You can see the sacred geometry figures all around her. The tetrahedron. I forget the names of some of the others, but she's definitely in alignment. Even her color schemes are in alignment. And there's a circle around her. She's ready to manifest anything in her life that she desires, and from a higher place. So this reading in this moon is all about releasing any judgment, trying to process your light and your shadow sides, and allowing yourself to be released if you need to let go of something or walk away from something, to be free, to be happy, to let yourself do that. All right, next we're going to do your readings for your signs.